When the event is over, please return your headset to the same distribution desk you received it from. We wish you an enjoyable time.
קהל נכבד.
Ladies and gentlemen,
ורעייתו, ראש הממשלה ורעייתו.
the President of the State of Israel, the Prime Minister and his wife, the Speaker of the Knesset and his wife, and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and her husband are now entering. They are accompanied by Chairman of Yad Vashem Council and Chairman of Yad Vashem. You are kindly requested to rise.
המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, שק. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. יחטף, שק. המשמר יציג את נשקו. הצג, שק. המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד, נוח.
כבוד נשיא המדינה.
His Excellency, President of the State of Israel and his wife, Prime Minister and his wife, Speaker of the Knesset and his wife, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and her husband, Honorable Chief Rabbis of Israel, Chairman of Yad Vashem Council, Chairman of Yad Vashem, Chairwoman of the Center of Holocaust Survivors Organizations in Israel, Doyen of the Diplomatic Corps serving in Israel, Holocaust survivors from Israel and overseas, President of the Bundestag, distinguished audience, one and all. To mark the opening of the National Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Day, the national flag will be lowered to half-mast.
המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. יחטף, שק. המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, שק. המשמר יחטיף נשקו. יחטף, שק.
I am honored to invite Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, Chairman of the Yad Vashem Council, to light the Remembrance torch.
דגל, שק. המשמר יכתיב את נשקו. הכתב שק. המשמר יציג את נשקו. הצג שק. המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד נוח.
נא לשבת.
You may be seated.
יום הזיכרון לשואה
Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Day 2022 is titled Transports to Extinction, the Deportation of the Jews During the Holocaust. In the picture in front of you, you can see Jews being deported from Skopje, Macedonia, to the Treblinka death camp on March 1943. In keeping with the policy of the final solution during World War II, the Germans and their collaborators uprooted millions of Jews from their homes and deported them to their deaths from there. This meticulously organized operation was an event of historic significance, obliterating Jewish communities throughout German-occupied territory that had existed for centuries. Thus, the railway car, originally a symbol of progress, globalization, and human technological prowess, warped into the emblem of the backsliding of human values into the abyss of wholesale mass murder on an unprecedented scale. More than half of the Jews murdered in the Holocaust were brought to their deaths through the elaborate deportation system, which used mainly trains but also enlisted trucks, ships, and wagons, and sometimes forced the deportees to march on foot. The deportations were conducted in a brutal manner, and many were murdered during and because of these deportations. Every day, thousands of Jews were crammed into cattle cars making their way to the death camps. The journey would last several hours and sometimes days. The overcrowding in the cars was unbearable. The feeling of suffocation, overwhelming. Growing hunger and thirst magnified the anguish. These deportations tore entire families apart. Oftentimes, parents, siblings, children, and friends were left behind inside the cattle cars. Jews tried in different ways to convey their situation and feelings to loved ones left behind and wrote them letters on scraps of paper they found. There were those who survived the jump, but many others died in the process or were denounced to the Germans by locals. The shock that accompanied the stages of deportation, the roundup, and the time inside the cars lingered after the deportees' arrival at the extermination camps. The deportations ripped the deportees from the human world as they knew it and separated them from it irrevocably. President of the State of Israel, Mr. Yitzhak Herzog.
המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד נוח.
יש רגעים
There are moments in which one black and white photo tells the whole story,
מהדהדת את המילים.
reverberates all of the words. I am standing here before you as I carry with me, etched in my heart, such a photo.
תמונה נדירה,
A rare picture that anyone who has seen it will never be able to forget.
עיניים רואות,
The eyes
המוח קולט,
see it, the brain perceives it, but the soul does not want to believe it, that the black and white
חור.
is actually darker than black.
לא תמונה של המספרים.
It is not a picture of the big numbers, the thousands, the tens of thousands, the millions. It is a photo of one family, a Jewish family, a family executed by the Nazi satanic henchmen and their collaborators.
אם וילדיה,
A mother and her son at the edge of the pit.
קנה הרובים
The
נוגעים
barrels of the rifles touching her back.
פניה של
You
האיש,
cannot see the face of the woman
פני ילדיה.
nor the faces of her children. A moment before her body collapses into the pit of death, she bends down towards her young children. And in one moment,
מעלים
all the rifles emit smoke. They shoot her together. They do not suffice with one bullet. They are coordinated, efficient.
ילד אחד נשמט
One child falls beneath her.
כוחותיה,
With whatever power she has left in her, the mother holds the hand of her young son, who is sitting barefoot on his knees on the blood-drenched land. What did the mother whisper to her little son? Did she tell him not to cry?
ילד, האם
And the boy, did he cry? Did he keep quiet? Did he understand? Was he afraid?
התמונה
The
שותקת,
picture is silent,
קולה זועק.
but its voice cries out, shocking, mesmerizing.
לא תרצח,
Thou shalt not kill.
לא אל תשלח
Lay not thine hand upon the lad. You may take the young, but be sure to let the mother go. Do not slaughter a cow or a sheep and its young on the same day. The photo was taken on October 13, 1941.
ראיתי אותה
When I saw it
בספרה של ההיסטוריונית,
in Wendy Lauer's book,
ספר שעשה
a book that was all about this picture, focusing only on it, I felt my entire being overcome with sadness, rage, and pain.
הזוועות האלה
These atrocities occurred in so many towns and villages, more than we can count, and in all of them, the sun shined over the valley,
הורים צייצו,
birds chirped,
יער שקט,
the forest was quiet,
חטא,
and the slayer slew and slew and slew.
מכובדיי,
Distinguished audience, Holocaust survivors, the heroes of the resurrection, family members of different generations, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and his wife, Speaker of the Knesset, Member of Knesset Miki Levy and his wife, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Esther Chayut and her husband, Chair of the Opposition, Benjamin Netanyahu, Chair of Yad Vashem Council, Rav Israel Meir Lau Shlita, the Chair of Yad Vashem, Dani Dayan, the President of the Bundestag, Mrs. Barbel Bas, ministers, Knesset members, chief rabbis, heads of the security establishment, chairwoman of the Center of Organizations for Holocaust Survivors, Ms. Colette Avital, ambassador, guest representatives from all over the world and from Israel, citizens of the State of Israel. Throughout the Jewish European Holocaust, girls, women, the elderly and men were led to the pits of death and slaughtered. Like the mother and her young son, they didn't leave behind them a name or anything to be remembered by. Like wheat sheaf falling behind the harvester, the Jews fell into the pit, and there was no one to collect them. The massive killing of the Jewish people, humanity's darkest hour, started like this, in what was later called the Holocaust in bullets. Afterwards, the Nazi beast that could not be satiated accelerated the extermination processes until it reached a monstrous scale. Millions of our people were tortured, murdered, massacred by the most horrific machine of evil known to mankind.
אחיותיי ואחיי,
Brothers and sisters,
3 אחרי
3 years after the gates of camps opened up, Holocaust survivors became the heroes of the resurrection, a miracle, role models, and a symbol. The state of the Jews was established like a beacon expressing the triumph of light over darkness, promising that a Jewish child will never have to hide in a dark and isolated cellar from those who seek to kill him. Parents will never be torn from their children and set on their last journey only because they were Jews.
ולעולם
And never, ever
לא יעמדו
will despicable murderers stand behind a Jewish family, shoot them, and throw them into the valley of the shadow of death.
התגובה היהודית
The Jewish response to history is to remember not just the scientific and sterile memory, not just archival documentation, but first and foremost, as the basis, a profound and existential memory that awards the
כזה
history meaning, one that is reflected in everything we do, helps us grow, builds us as a nation, makes us better
ראויים יותר.
and more worthy.
אהובינו,
Beloved
ושורדי השואה,
Holocaust survivors, your memory is our memory.
ומשימת
And the task of imparting it is a task we all share. It is our duty to teach the lessons of the Holocaust and pass them on from generation to generation. We have no hope,
ואין לנו
and we have no justification as a nation and as a state if we do not remember forever what has happened to our people in the ghettos, in the cellars of the Gestapo, in the killing pits, in the death trains, in the extermination camps, in the crematoriums, and in all the places where there was no expression of humanity and where there was no trace of compassion. But along with that, we must prove, first and foremost to ourselves, that it is not only history that unites us as a people, it is our common future that serves as a solid basis for deepening our connections, no less than our past. We must continue and build our nation so that it will thrive, grow, and rise to any and every challenge. We must act in a cohesive and determined fashion as we face the terrorism and hatred led by organizations and countries against us and fortify Israel's power like an iron wall in defense of our enemies. Doubting Israel's right to exist is not legitimate diplomacy, but outright anti-Semitism that must be uprooted. We must continue and fight the ugly manifestations of anti-Semitism that is rearing its head in so many places all over the world, as well as in social media. We must make it clear that even today, 8 decades from the darkest abyss in human history, anti-Semitism that threatens our people is a crime against humanity. Beloved Holocaust survivors, even if less and less of you are active and alive today, our commitment to you is ever stronger and must be seen and heard from one end of the world to the next. You are the pillar of fire before the camp. You are an inspiration for us all. You make us believe that our path is the right one and encourage us to proceed forward. Citizens of Israel, I opened my remarks this evening with a picture, and I am ending it with one as well. A photo that also reverberates all of the words. On my desk, in the office of the President of the State of Israel, there is merely one and only photo that touches anyone who sees it to the core of their being. Anyone who has ever seen this picture can never forget it. At the center of the photo, you see Dora Dreiblet Eisenberg of blessed memory, born in Lodz, prisoner number 55374 from Birkenau, Auschwitz, and with her great-granddaughter, Daniela Hartzvi. Here as well, you cannot see the woman's face, nor can you see the face of the great-granddaughter. The great-granddaughter's hand is resting on her great-grandmother's hand. Their hands are placed on the Israeli flag. This picture taken by Karen Gillerman tells the entire story in the clearest of ways. The story of the Jewish people and its revival, the story of this country and how it was settled, the story of the chain of generations, and the story of the State of Israel, which is the most profound, our beloved country, which is the most profound expression of Ezekiel the prophet's vision of the dry bones. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. O land, do not cover their blood. May the memory of our brothers and sisters, the victims of the Holocaust, be etched in the heart of the nation from generation to generation and until all eternity.
משמר אדום, משמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
תחת צבע כוכבי שמיים, שים עליי את כף ידך. כל מילה שלי דמעה היא, נא קבלנה אל חיקך. כוכביך זיו יטילו אל מרתף אישון עיניי. אך גבעו אין בי אפילו להשיב בו על השי. אך גבעו אין בי אפילו להשיב בו על השי. הן על מי אם לא עליך עוד אשליך את יהבי את ימי כולם ליחך זו האש הבלבבי נח במרתפים השקט דמי הרצח מחלחל אל גגות נפשי חומקת מתחקה אייכה אל גגות נפשי חומקת מתחקה אייכה נישאות ביבב פרוע סמטאות ועליות ואני מיתר קרוע שר אני לך אוצות תחת ציר כוכבי שמיים שים עליי את כף ידך כל מילה שלי דמעה היא נקבלנה אל חיקך כל מילה שלי דמעה היא נקבלנה אל חיקך
דבר ראש הממשלה, מר נפתלי
Prime
בנט.
Minister, Mr. Naftali Bennett.
משמר אדום. המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד, נוח.
כבוד נשיא המדינה,
President of the State of Israel, Mr. Yitzhak Herzog, and his wife Michal, Speaker of the Knesset, Member of Knesset Miki Levy, and his wife Nurit, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Judge Esther Chayut, and her husband David, Chairman of the Opposition, Member of Knesset Benjamin Netanyahu, Chairman of the Yad Vashem Council, Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, Chairman of Yad Vashem, Mr. Danny Dayan.
the President of the
The President of the Bundestag, Mrs. Barbel Bas,
הממשלה,
government ministers, Knesset members, chief rabbis, heads of the defense establishment, chairman of the Center Organizations for Holocaust Survivors in Israel, Ms. Colette Avital,
שורדי השואה,
Holocaust survivors and their families,
אמי מורתי מירנה בנט,
my mother, Myrna Bennett,
אזרחי ישראל,
citizens of the State of Israel,
כולם.
distinguished guests.
אני מחזיק בידי
I am holding a page of testimony.
למען הדור הצעיר.
For the sake of the younger generation, I will explain that a page of testimony is an official form of Yad Vashem that describes the basic details of an individual Jew who was murdered in the Holocaust. When that Jew was born, what was his or her profession, the names of the parents and family, and how he or she were murdered. These pages of testimony were filled over the decades by family members or friends who could reliably and accurately describe the details of that Jew
נספו בשואה.
who perished in the Holocaust.
אני מבקש
I would like
לקרוא לכם
to read to you
פרטי
the details of this page of testimony.
שם המשפחה של
Last name of the murdered woman, Reich.
שם פרטי
First name,
חסר.
blank, missing.
לידה,
Place of birth,
אושוויץ.
Auschwitz.
מקום המוות,
Place of death,
אושוויץ.
Auschwitz.
תיאור נסיבות
Description of the circumstances of the death taken from her mother in Auschwitz.
פרטי ממלא הדף.
The details of the person who filled the form. Mother Irene Reich.
בעת המוות
Age at death,
חצי שעה.
half an hour.
אחיי ואחיותיי,
Brothers and sisters, the Holocaust is an unprecedented event in human history. I am stating this fact because as the years go by, we hear some people in the world comparing other difficult events to the Holocaust. But no. Even the most difficult wars today are not the Holocaust and are nothing like the Holocaust. No event in history, cruel as it may be, comes close to the extermination of European Jews by the Nazis and their collaborators. History, unfortunately, is rife with tough wars, brutal murders, and genocide. But it is usually a means designed to achieve a goal, some kind of purpose, military, political, economic, religious. The case of the extermination of the Jews is different. Never, at no other place and at no other time, has one nation acted to exterminate another in such a premeditated, systematic, industrial way, out of pure ideology and not out of utilitarianism. The Nazis killed the Jews not to seize their place of work or their homes. The Nazis also sought to reach each and every Jew and exterminate them to the last of them. A Jew in the Holocaust had no way to escape, not by surrendering, not by expulsion, not by conversion or changing their behavior. There was nothing they could do because the reason you were exterminated was because you were a Jew regardless of what you did. The Germans spared no effort to carry out their mission. For example, in April 1944, a special Gestapo team was sent to the French Alps to remote hiking trails just to capture and murder 20 Jewish children, the youngest of whom was 4 years old. So much energy just to kill a few Jewish children. Towards the end of the war, the Nazis preferred to concentrate on the extermination of Jews, even when it robbed them of energy and resources critical to the war efforts. What brought them to this? Why? The Holocaust is the ultimate, absolute expression of thousands of years of anti-Semitism. But why is there anti-Semitism? How is it that over 3,500 years ago, Pharaoh decided to exterminate all the Hebrew males, and 1,000 years later, Haman wanted to exterminate all the Jews? And why did Britain expel and kill its Jews 700 years ago? And 500 years ago, Spain did the same. And 350 years ago, in Yemen as well. What is the motivation? What is the reason for all these events? The answer is that there is none. There is no reason for anti-Semitism. Hatred of Jews is an emotion that is easy to manipulate and ignite. These are the darkest elements in the human psyche, which sometimes erupt in the form of blind hatred for the other, that if only that other disappears, all my problems will be solved. In each of its manifestations, anti-Semitism takes a different form. It always seemingly finds a different reason. Once we are slaughtered because we, the Jews, have different customs, a bit different. The kashrut laws, Shabbat, prayers, which led many Jews to try and assimilate into the Gentiles. But then the anti-Semites attacked the Jews precisely because they were assimilating into the environment. The Jews are successful. That's a reason for anti-Semitism. The Jews are backwards and poor reason for anti-Semitism. The Jews are a landless people cut off from their land for generations.
סיבה לשנוא אותם.
There's a reason to hate them.
מקימים מדינה
The Jews are establishing a successful and strong country. That's another reason to hate them.
כל פעם שאנחנו
Whenever we are tempted to believe that we have entered a new, liberal, modern era in which people no longer hold on to their hatred of the Jews,
מעוררת אותנו.
reality awakens us to the truth.
אז מה הלקח?
So, what lesson do we learn from this? What should we do?
התשובה שלי ברורה.
My answer is clear.
הציווי הגורלי שלנו הוא לעמוד לגורל.
What we must do is stand on our feet, to be responsible for our fate, to rely only on ourselves, to be strong, and to never apologize
על הצלחתנו.
for our existence or our success. We have built a strong and prosperous Jewish state here in the land of Israel.
וזה היעד שאין לנו ברירה.
And this is the goal we have no choice but to meet. The state of Israel must be the strongest
תמיד.
always.
להיות עם הצבא
To be with the strongest army,
האיכותי ביותר.
with the best quality air force, with the bravest combatants, with the most sophisticated Mossad and Shabak, and above all,
עם האמונה העמוקה.
with the deepest faith in the righteousness of our ways.
מדינת ישראל
The state of Israel, strong.
קשרים
We are building bridges to new and old friends, deepening alliances.
אך לצד החברים.
But alongside our friends
לנו הקרובים והרחוקים.
and allies, near and afar, we must remember a basic truth.
אנחנו נתקיים כאן בארצנו.
We will exist here in our country only if we deepen our roots in this land of ours.
השואה התרחשה
The Holocaust occurred
לאחר קצת פחות מ-2000 שנות גלות של...
after a little less than 2,000 years of exile of our people. The Jewish people are like a plant that's connected to a particular land. It's true, yes, the plant may exist and somehow survive in another kind of soil, but in order to flourish and thrive,
אדמה שלו.
it must connect to its own soil. The Jewish people
יכול איכשהו להתקיים
can somehow exist and live in the diaspora and dream of Jerusalem, but at the end of the day, the natural
יכול
existence of our people, the real one, can only take place in the physical home, in our original home, here in the land of Israel.
היא חובה
Building this home is a duty, but it is also a great privilege for us all.
הערב פותח את אירועי
This ceremony this evening opens the events of the Holocaust Remembrance Day, and it also marks the middle point of 3 very special weeks, the 3 weeks of resurrection. They begin on Passover, which marks the birth of our people, of our nation, and these 3 weeks continue next week on Remembrance Day for the fallen soldiers in the Israel Armed Forces and wars, and ending on the Independence Day of the State of Israel. Jewish existence began almost 4,000 years ago on this land,
כאן במדינת ישראל.
and every act
בנייה והתחזקות.
here in the land of Israel, in the state of Israel, is an act of building and triumph. Every house that is built, every baby that is born, every company that is founded, every step that we take in the streams of this country, every song that is written, every act of kindness done between people is a brick in this magnificent building called the State of Israel.
היהודית
The building of the State of Israel, the Jewish state in the land of Israel, that is the victory and triumph over those who sought to destroy and exterminate us. Let us all hold tightly to this country, to this land of ours.
נקודה אחרונה.
And one last point,
דווקא בימים אלה.
and it's very important these days.
גטו ורשה נחשב
The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising is rightly considered the pinnacle of Jewish heroism. It was an impossible battle of a few Jews against many Germans. We all grew up on this legacy. What is often less told is the tragic fact
נלחמנו
that we fought against the Germans not as one body, but as two competing Jewish organizations which did not cooperate with each other. Ha'etzi, a Jewish military organization belonging to the revisionist bloc, which we call today the right, and Eyal, the Jewish fighting organization, which belonged to the socialist faction to the left. Yes, brothers and sisters, even in the darkest days of Jewish history, in the midst of the inferno of annihilation, the left and the right failed to cooperate. Each group fought alone against the Germans. And I try to understand what ideological gap was so important that it could separate two groups of Jews who fought in such a desperate and heroic battle. What internal animosity could have justified such a split at such a moment? Brothers and sisters, we simply must not allow that dangerous gene of strife and factionalism to dismantle the people of Israel, the Jews, from within. Today, Baruch Hashem, in the state of Israel, we have one army, one government, one Knesset, and one nation, the people of Israel. When we are united, no external enemy can beat us. Brothers and sisters, I am going back to that page of testimony. May the soul of that Jewish baby who perished even before she was given a name, together with 6 million of our brothers and sisters who were murdered in the Holocaust, may her soul be bundled in the bundle of life.
המשמר יעבור לדום, משמר אדום, המשמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
מי יודע כל כאב, מי הופך לשבו אליו, יוצא אור וחושך, עושה שלום ומלחמה. מי יושב על כיס הדין, מתכסה ברחמים, מוחל וסולח, מביט ויודע, ומי ירפא ליבי, אל מי אני מי יגע כמו ים שלא חוף, רק תגיד לי מי יחבק אותי ויבטיח שאני לא אכנע בסוף. מי היה עובר ויה, מי ממית ומחיה, פותח ידיים, מצמיח כנפיים, ומי ירפא ליבי, כמו ים שלא חוף, רק תגיד לי מי יחבק אותי ויבטיח שאני לא אכנע בסוף, שאני לא אכנע בסוף. ים של חוף, רק תגיד לי מי יחבק אותי ויבטיח שאני לא אכנע בסוף, שאני לא אכנע בסוף.
טקס הדלקת
The lighting of the torches.
יועלו לזכרם של
6 torches will be lit in memory of the 6 million, our brothers and sisters who were murdered by the Nazi Germans and their accomplices, and in honor of the Holocaust survivors who reclaimed their lives and joined the national effort to build and establish the State of Israel, and became key partners in the preservation of the memory of the Holocaust and its inculcation to future generations. The lighters of the 6 torches will be accompanied by their family members. The first torch will be lit by Tzvi Gil, born in Zdunska Wola, Poland.
החיים היו חיים של רמסים, הייתי אומר, של איזה מין תולעים, מישהו ידרוך עליך לפתע פתאום. ולא הייתה שאלה, אם אנחנו נחיה, אנחנו לא נחיה. השאלה הייתה, מתי נמות. נולדתי בעיר זדונסקה וולה אשר במרכז פולין, למשפחה חרדית ועמידה. הודיעו לנו שעלינו לסדר את הדירה, קצין נאצי בכיר יבוא להתגורר בה זמנית, ואנחנו עברנו לבקתה, אבל מעולם לא שבנו לבית שלנו, ובשבילי חורבן הבית, כלומר התפיסה של הבית, גירוש שלי מן הבית, היה חורבן הבית השלישי. באוגוסט 1942 חוסל הגטו של זדונסקה וולה. הובלנו לבית העלמין היהודי, ושם הייתה הסלקציה הראשונה. הרוב הועבר לצד השני, והגופות הועברו לגיא ההריגה בשם חלבנו, והועלו באש. בין הרוב הזה היו הסבים שלי, אבי, אחי, ומי שנותר בצד הזה לגטו לודג' היו אמי ואני. גטו לודג' היה משהו מיוחד במינו. מצד אחד עיר שלא היה יום כמעט שלא היו אקציות. אבל מצד שני, באותו גיהינום הייתה איזה מין בועה אחת, וזו הייתה הפעילות של תנועת הנוער. בתנועת הנוער נדדנו לארץ של שמש, למולדת שלנו, ושרנו משירי ציון והכל. אבל ברגע שיצאנו החוצה, המציאות הכתה בנו, מכיוון שראינו את הגוויות שהונחו לצידי הדרך. בריד עליו חליתי בטיפוס. הודיעו לנו שמעבירים אותנו ברכבת, ואני ידעתי שהגרמנים, אם הם אוספים חולי טיפוס, היעד הוא אחד. בשלב מסוים הייתה אזעקה. הכלל היה שהגרמנים עוצרים את הרכבת, וברגע שיש הרגעה, עולים למעלה וממשיכים. אני גמרתי אומר שאני בורח על היער. אז הייתה אזעקה, ברחתי על היער, ובשעות הבוקר הגעתי לכפר גרמני. אני הייתי בין המגויסים הראשונים לצה"ל, הייתי אומר 5,000 מגויסים הראשונים. הייתי חלק מלידתה של מדינת ישראל. לא יכולה להיות תקומה אחרת מתקומה כזאת. נמניתי עם מנסחי מנשר הניצולים, מסר וצבאה רוחנית וערכית. מה עלינו ללמוד כדי ששואה כזאת לא תישנה.
תעלה המשואה.
Let the torch be lit.
המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד, נוח.
משואה שנייה אמור היה לעלות
The second torch was supposed to be lit by Shmuel Blumenfeld, born in Krakow, Poland. Sadly, Shmuel passed away 2 weeks ago and was not able to reach this meaningful moment. His son, Aryeh Blumenfeld, will light the torch on his behalf.
בלומנפלד מושק, בוקית מורדכי, ואלה אף אחד לא נשאר בחיים. נולדתי בפולין, והתגררנו בפרושוויצה, עיירה קטנה 30 קילומטר מקרקוב. עבדנו בסימס באוניום וראינו מה שנעשה, איך ממיסים לקרונות של 10 טון אנשים. עשיתי את החישוב שלי, אמרתי מגרשים יהודים למוות, אני רוצה למות ביחד עם משפחתי. באמצע היום בהפסקה הסתלקתי עם העת חפירה. היה לי הרגשה רע, מה אני אגיד לאמא שהם הולכים למוות? זאת הייתה הפעם האחרונה שראיתי את המשפחה שלי. הגענו לאושוויץ והתחילו לעשות סלקציה, בחרו דברים, נשים לא, את כולם שרפו. באו לעשות לנו את המספר. כשיצאתי אחרי הדוד שלי, אז הוא אומר, איזה מספר יש לך? אז אני אומר 108,006. הוא אומר, זה מתחלק ל-18, אתה תחיה. אז אני חי. הרגע הכי קשה זה היה מצד 100 קילומטר בקור של אני יודע 15, 18, ללכת כל כך הרבה קילומטרים. היינו גמורים. שקלתי 33 קילו. כנראה הייתי פיזית מספיק חזק. רזה אבל חזק. היה תור שלי לתת אוכל, נתתי לו קצת אוכל, ואני שאלתי את השרמור ואמרתי, מר אייכמן, אתה רואה? זה מספר אותתי מאושוויץ. אנשים שלך לא מילאו את הפקודה. זה נס שנותרו כמה אנשים ואנחנו הקמנו את העם יהודי מחדש, ואנחנו חיים במולדת שלנו, שבמדינת ישראל עד העולם.
תעלה המשואה.
Let the torch be lit.
משמר דום. משמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד, נוח.
משואה שלישית תעלה.
The third torch will be lit by Olga Ki from the Chik family born in the town of Uferherto, Hungary.
I come from a family of 10 children. My parents were just the most wonderful people. It was Pesach, Shabbos night. They started together the Jewish family. Our turn was on Tuesday morning. We were taken to a cattle train. Nothing to sit down. We didn't get any food for 3 days. We didn't know anything what's going on. We did not know where we are going. When we arrived to Auschwitz, I wanted to take a pair of stockings some clothing with me as we were getting off. And my father told me, "My dear, you don't need that anymore." I got off the train. First, my father was separated. My younger sister and I were sent ahead and were taken to Lager C. We were asked to take off all our clothes with all the German men around. And then they cut off our hair and from everywhere, from our body. My mother and my sister and 2 grandchildren, they were sent to the gas chamber. It's hard for me to say. Do I have to? To me, that was the worst place. Pile of dead people. We were hardly getting any food. My younger sister became in terrible condition. We were so sick already. Everybody had diarrhea. We could hardly walk. We were so dirty. The filth was just unreal, unbelievable. They took the very sick ones. Took also my little sister downstairs. Then one day when I went on, I thought she was sleeping and I wanted to cover her. And the girls around her in the room said, "You don't need to cover her anymore." I must tell my story because the world is trying to deny it. No matter how hard it is, I just have to tell.
תעלה המשואה.
Let the torch be lit.
משמר יעבור לדום, משמר דום, משמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
משואה רביעית יעלה...
The fourth torch will be lit by Arya Shilansky, born in Shavli, Lithuania.
הגרמנים נכנסו לליטא, אני הייתי בן 12. הגטו הוקף עם משאיות, עם אנשי אס-אס. הם פרצו לגטו, חיפשו ומצאו ילדים ומבוגרים. למזלי הרב, לאחותי חנה נודעה שמועה שהשער לכיוון בית חרושת פרנקל פתוח ונותנים לעבור. והצלחנו לעבור לתוך הבית החרושת. מהחלונות של הבית חרושת ראו את הדרמות של משיכת ילדים. ילד בורח, תופסים אותו. בכל מיני מקומות מצאו ילדים ומבוגרים והביאו אותם למשאיות. כשאנשים חזרו מעבודה לגטו, שנודע להם מה שקרה, התחילו לצעוק, הם תלשו לעצמם את השערות, היו אנשים עמדו והיו את הראש בקיר, וזעקות זוועה שאני לא יכול לשכוח את זה, אני זוכר את זה עד היום הזה. כשהרכבת עצרה בשטוטוף ונפתחו הדלתות, ראינו שורות של אנשי אס-אס עם כלבים ועם מקלות. בפתח הדלת הם רצו לדלתות עם מקלות, ראוץ, 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 לקפוץ, לקפוץ, לקפוץ. שטוטוף היה מחנה קשה מאוד. הגדרי תיל היו מחושמלים, שמעו את הזמזום של המסך הגבוה 24 שעות ביממה. אנחנו הנערים הבנו שמי שצריך לצאת לעבודה, יש לו סיכוי להישאר. ברגע שהחזית התקרבה, התחילה צעדת המוות, התחלנו ללכת. היו כל מיני שמועות לאן הולכים, לאן מובילים. היו גם שמועות שזה, ככוונה להוציא אותנו להורג. ב-1 במאי 1945 הובילו אותנו למקום בין שני הרים. אמרו להתכונן ללינת לילה. כשקמנו בבוקר ראינו שאנשי האס-אס נעלמו. זה הרגע השחרור שלנו. זכיתי לעלות לארץ. זכיתי להשתתף במלחמת השחרור. זכיתי להקים משפחה, ילדים, נכדים, נינים. ואני זוכה להגיד לעולם לא עוד, never again, ועם ישראל חי.
תעלה המשואה.
Let the torch be lit.
המשמר יעבור לדום. משמר דום. המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד נוח.
משואה חמישית.
The fifth torch will be lit by Saul Spielmann, born in Vienna, Austria.
בשעה 8 בערב פרצו לבית שלנו שני קציני SA, אחד שלף אקדח ואמר לאבא שלי, יהודי, יש לך בדיוק 2-3 דקות להביא את כל הכסף, זהב, אם לא תעשה את זה מיד, אני יורה בבן שלך ותוכל לגרד את המוח שלו מיקי. פשוט השתתקתי מפחד. בליל הבדולח התחילו הנאצים להשתולל, לעצור, לתפוס יהודים ברחוב, היכו אותם מכות רצח. פרצו גם לעסקים של יהודים, ראיתי גם את השמיים אדומים, כמה בתי כנסת שעלו באש, ואנחנו בבית ישבנו רועדים. ההשתוללויות האלה נמשכו כמעט עד אור הבוקר. אחרי שהרכבת עצרה בשעות הערב באושוויץ, פתחו את הדלתות, אנשי אס-אס עם תת מקלעים, צרחות, מהומות, כל פעם נכנס קפו לקרון, והיא פשוט זרקת אנשים החוצה. אז אנחנו, האנשים הצעירים, עוד הצלחנו לקפוץ, אבל הזקנים, כשהם קפצו, הם נפלו. והאלה שהיו אחריהם קפצו על האנשים ששכבו על הרמפה, הם נהרגו. זה היה ברור שנפתחו שערי הגיהנום. אנשים מתו שם כמו זבובים, ואמא שלי חלתה גם בטיפוס ורצתה. ראיתי שמפנים אותה מהבלוק לאיזה צריף שקראו לו צריף החולים. רציתי לראות את אמא שלי, אז הלכתי מסביב לצריף, כי זה היה קירות עץ. צעקתי מוטי, מוטי, זה פאול, עד שהגעתי למקום והיא ענתה לי. יום אחד הגעתי בבוקר, ראיתי שמוצאים את הגופה שלה וזורקים אותה לעגלות האלה, ישר לקרמטוריום. אני לא ידעתי אם אני אשרוד אפילו אחרי המלחמה. כי המצב הקליני שלי היה על הפנים, עור ועצמות. שקלתי בגיל 13.5, 30 קילו. אמרתי לו, אכפת לי אם אני אמות רק כאדם חופשי. את הכניסה לרמפה, כן. הניצחון שלי ששרדתי את השואה והגעתי לארץ הזאת והקמתי משפחה לתפארת ואני ממשיך את השורשים של המשפחה שלי.
תעלה המשואה.
Let the torch be lit.
משמר יעבור לדום. משמר דום. המשמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד נוח.
משואה.
The sixth torch will be lit by Rivka Elitzo from the Lissauer family, born in Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
באמסטרדם. וחיינו באמסטרדם עד שבאה המלחמה. אבא, אמא, אחי ואני. היה יהודי שקילף תפוחי אדמה. הוא אמר לי, אני אלמד אותך לקלף תפוחי אדמה, ואת תזכרי את השם שלי, כי אני לא נשוי, ואין לי ילדים, ואני בטח לא אעבור את המחנה, אז אחר כך מי יזכור אותי? ואני עם השנים שכחתי, וזה מונח לי על הנשמה, אבל כשאני מקלפת תפוחי אדמה, אני אומרת, אני זוכרת אותך, אפילו בלי השם. מווסטרבורג אחר כך העבירו אותנו לברגן-בלזן. היינו ברכבת לא נחמדה, צפוף, 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 כולם ביחד, בקושי היה מקום לזוז. בברגן-בלזן היינו במיטות של 3 קומות, וישבנו להרוג את הכנים. ואני רואה במיטה על ידי יושבת אישה ואוכלת פרוסת לחם. ואני אומרת, תסתובבי, אל תוציאי לי את הלחם מהפה. אמא שלי הייתה חברמנית דלוקס. היא הבטיחה לי ולאחי, כשתיגמר המלחמה, נחזור הביתה, וכל אחד מקבל לחם שלם וצנצנת ריבה. וזאת הייתה חוכמה מאוד גדולה, כי זה החזיק אותנו בכוח כדי להגיע לדבר הנהדר הזה. שעות, שעות, שעות נתנו לנו לעמוד בקור, היה אפילו שלג. ואני למדתי עם ילדה שבסוף לא יכולנו לדבר, כי היא באה מסלוניקי נדמה לי. אז היינו רוקדות. Als de soldaatjes gaan marcheren, moeten de meisjes oefeningen leren. Hopsakeetje, 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 hopsakeetje. ככה החזקנו את עצמנו בחיים. עליתי לארץ אחרי שגמרתי את הלימודים, ונפגשתי עם בעלי. יש לי 2 בנות, 9 נכדים, 5 נינים, ויש בדרך.
תעלה המשואה.
Let the torch be lit.
משמר יעבור לדום, משמר דום. המשמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
את דבר השורדים, ניצולי השואה, יישא דוקטור...
Dr. Moshe Meron, born in Budapest, Hungary, will now speak on behalf of the Holocaust survivors. His father, grandfather, and grandmother were sent to their death. Moshe, his mother and brother, were uprooted and imprisoned in the ghetto, living with constant fear and hunger until the end of the war. After they were liberated, at the end of an arduous journey, he made it to this country. Moshe, a member of Kibbutz Shamir, formerly a farmer, and today he holds a PhD in agriculture, founded 3 startup companies, and still continues with his research work. Moshe and his wife have 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson.
משמר דום. המשמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
קילו.
30 kilos. I was sitting with my beloved family for a Shabbat dinner. The table was set with an abundance of wonderful food, and suddenly I was struck with a memory for no good reason. 30 kilos. This is what the Nazis allowed us to take with us from the house where we had lived all our lives. It was the opening shot for the fate of 1 Jewish family in the Holocaust. The Jews of Hungary were the last to be uprooted and sent to extermination, and my family did not escape this fate. My grandparents were sent to a concentration camp in Germany. My grandfather did not survive the harsh conditions of the journey and died in the train car. My grandmother was murdered in Ravensbrück camp. My father was sent on the last train that left Budapest to Mauthausen, and his burial place remains unknown, and I did not get to say Kaddish over him. The train car has become one of the symbols of the Holocaust for a reason. The Nazi extermination machine spared no resources and stopped at nothing when it came to displacing and exterminating the Jews. Hundreds of years of Jewish life were cut short at once, and as the poet Yitzhak Katzenelson, who was murdered in the Holocaust, wrote, "The sun, which will rise in the morning over a small town in Lithuania and Poland, will no longer see a Jew shining in the window for the Shacharit prayer at dawn." My mother, Miriam, was extraordinarily resourceful and courageous and managed to save me, a 9-year-old, and my 6-year-old little brother, Moshe, from the firing squad on the banks of the Danube. We survived. At the end of the war, we found ourselves lonely, destitute. Strangers had taken over our house. There was nothing left for us in Hungary. Once again, we packed our suitcases and began the long and arduous journey to the land of Israel. On the way, in the DP camps in Germany, while we were preparing to make Aliyah, we learned Hebrew and sang songs about the land of Israel, but the gates of the land of Israel and the whole world at that were locked for us. In the spring of 1949, I finally saw the lights of Haifa from the sea, and I knew I had arrived home. The home we had dreamt about at our most difficult and darkest hours. I joined the kibbutz Shamir, which at the time was a rural kibbutz on the Syrian border. I was a farmer, a cotton grower, who over time studied and completed a PhD. I developed a sensor that measures the tree's degree of thirst and indicates the degree to which they are watered. I, the 9-year-old Jewish boy, from the shores of the Danube, founded a startup in the state of Israel which serves the entire world. As a Holocaust survivor who sat by the radio on November 29 and counted with everyone the yeses and nos, I learned that the Jewish state is a miracle that must be preserved. I hope we will overcome all the disagreements because the Jews don't have any other country.
המשמר יעבור לדום, משמר דום, המשמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
מירה פיז'יץ.
Mira Pizhitz was born in Warsaw to a well-off Jewish family. In November 1940, the family was taken away from their home and imprisoned in the ghetto. At the beginning, Mira worked at an orphanage in the ghetto. After the children were sent away, she was transferred to work in the Schultz tanning factory. In the summer of 1942, the great deportation of the Warsaw Jews to Treblinka began. Mira described the horror of the deportation days in her journal. One day, I no longer remember the date, a group of executioners entered the factory's workshop and began purging. They dragged adults, young people, women and men, separated mothers from their children, husbands and wives, crammed them into trucks and drove them through the transport square. There were persistent rumors that the evacuees from the ghetto were not transported to labor camps but to a place called Treblinka, and that those who brought there were all killed immediately. Although the rumor was unbelievable, the details we heard would make your blood freeze. Horrific stories. And then came that unforgettable night, the night between September 5th and 6th, 1942. At about 3 a.m., we were awakened by the sounds of traffic on the street. We had no idea what was going on, but immense anxiety took over us. I dressed hurriedly and ran downstairs. A policeman explained that a new announcement had come out. By 10 a.m., all Jews remaining in the ghetto must leave their apartments and go to concentration areas. This caused abysmal anxiety. We knew and felt that this was our end. To hide? Where? It's one thing to hide for an hour or two, but it was an entirely different matter to hide for an unknown period of time. What to do? The nerves were frayed and tense. My parents were standing in the stairwell. We asked, "What did you decide? Are we going or staying in hiding?" "We're going," Dad says. "Maybe we can somehow be saved, but because it's impossible to stay here." I do not believe it was possible for us to be saved, but I keep silent. The worst thing is that we have to part. I look at Dad, Mom, my sister. This is the end. This is the last time we're going to see each other. Mom packs her warmest shawl in my backpack. She turns her face away so I won't see her crying. And I pack the shawl back in her bundle. But a moment later, a terrible thought sticks in my mind. Will we still need this shawl? One last farewell. I look once more at my parents and little sister. We cannot part from each other. Along the street, crowds of people of all ages who are sentenced to death are moving along, their faces revealing the fear of death, moving slowly, dragging their feet, entire families laden with bundles parked on the sidewalks, in the doorways, and the yards. The selection takes place at the corner of Mila and Zamenhof streets. I try to look healthy, young, to give the impression of a strong worker. The beast takes a look at my face, glancing at the number hanging on my coat. My heart faints inside me, my head held high, but I feel all the blood flowing out of my body. We're moving. Every few steps, various objects are thrown away, torn bed sheets, pillows, slippers, puddles of blood. It all testifies to what happened here and to the way they treated those who decided not to go to the quarantine area and stayed in their hiding places. Everyone is crying. We do not realize yet that our lives have been saved. Everyone thinks of their loved ones. Where are they? Did they survive? Everyone was gone. I was left completely alone. Fate united us over the past few months. In every unfamiliar Jew, I see a brother, and I feel like a sister to them all. None of us have personal problems. The only problems that exist are the problems of Jews. At the last minute during the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, Mira and her father fled to the Aryan side and joined her mother and sister. The Pizhitz family wandered between different hiding places and managed to survive until their liberation. Then they learned that most of their family had perished. After the war, Mira married Avraham Flint, and in 1948 they made Aliyah, and their son and daughter were born here in Israel. Mira's family members are here with us this evening.
יש דברים שרציתי לומר ואינם נענים לי, המילים שבחרתי אינן הטובות מכולן, עמוקים מני ים הסודות שאינם מובנים לי, שאולי לא אבין לעולם. לא בכל הדרכים שרציתי ללכת הלכתי, בדרכים שהלכתי טעיתי ודאי לא פעם אחת, בעצבות מעלה כל שמחה שמחתי, כמו ביקשתי דבר שעבר.
חלומות שחלמתי והם מקיצים בידיי, שבריהם בעיניי נשטפים מפניי בדמעה, ולילות ייסורים לא ספורים שהטבעתי ביין, כעובד בדרכי הרעה, אך בכל הדרכים מעולם לא עבדה לי דרכנו, וגם אם לפעמים סערו מסביב הרוחות, ואהבתי אותך והיה לנו טוב אגדותינו, והיה לנו רע, ואהבתי אותך לא פחות.
סערו מסביב הרוחות, ואהבתי אותך והיה לנו טוב אגדותינו, והיה לנו רע, ואהבתי אותך לא פחות.
Psalms will be recited by the Chief Rabbi of Israel, Rabbi David Lau. The audience is requested to rise.
משמר יחטיף ונשקו. יחטף, שק.
אדוני, מה רבו צרי?
Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in God, Selah. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. O save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave who shall give thee thanks? Because my blood requests their death and has not forgotten the cry of the righteous. Have mercy upon me, O Lord. Consider my trouble which I suffer of them that hate me. Thou that liftest me from the gates of death, how long wilt thou forget me, O Lord? Forever, how long wilt thou hide thy face from me? Answer me, my Lord, shed light upon me. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
משמר יציג הנשקו. יציג שק. משמר יעבור לנוח. עמוד נוח.
קדיש מפי הרב הראשי לישראל.
Kaddish will be recited by the Chief Rabbi of Israel, the Rishon LeZion, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef.
משמר יחטיף ונשקו. יחטף שק.
גדל והתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דיברה קירותי, וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח פורקני, ויקרב משיחי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך, וישתבח ויתפאר ותרומה ויתנשא ויתהדר, ויתעלה ויתעלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילם מן כל ברכתה, שירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דם אירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, חיים ושבע, וישועה ונחמה, שזבר ורפואה וגאולה וסליחה וכפרה, ורווח והצלה לנו כל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו וברחמיו ועושה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
משמר יציג נשקו, יציג שק, משמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
El
El Maleh Rachamim, God full of mercy, will be recited by Holocaust survivor Beni Harel, born in Tripoli, Libya. During the German occupation of Libya, Tripoli was bombarded. The family's home took a direct hit. His brother and sister were killed as a result of this direct hit, and his mother and him were injured. Beni and his mother were evacuated to a hideout in a town near Tripoli, where they lived in a stable. During one of the shellings, the stable was also hit, and Beni's mother was burned to death in front of her son. His grandfather, who wanted to bury his daughter in a Jewish burial in Tripoli, cleverly overcame the ban on bringing corpses into the city. He rented a carriage, dressed his dead daughter in a shroud and a wedding dress on top of them. So he returned to Tripoli with his grandmother holding her dead daughter on one side and 6-year-old Beni holding her on the other side and weeping. Beni stayed at his grandmother's house until the end of the war. In 1948, the family made Aliyah. He later married and is a father of 4 children, a grandfather of 14 grandchildren, and also a great-grandfather of 4 great-grandchildren.
אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, אמצעי מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכנה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים.
כזוהר רקיע. מהירים ומזהירים.
מהירים ומזהירים לנשמות 6 המיליונים, אחינו ואחיותינו. רבבות אלפי ישראל, אנשים, נשים וטף, שנהרגו, שנשחטו, שנשרפו, שנחנקו ושנקברו חיים, ושאומתו בכל מיני מיתות משונות ואכזריות בידי הגרמנים הנאצים ועוזריהם, ושהלכו לעולמם על קידוש השם. בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם, לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותם, ונאמר אמן.
התקווה.
The national anthem, Hatikva.
דגל שק.
כל עוד בלבב בנימה נפש יהודי הומייה ולפתי מזרח קדימה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים.
המשמר יחטיף את נשקו, יחטף שק. משמר יציג את נשקו, יציג שק. משמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
תם הטקס.
The ceremony has now come to a close. The audience is requested to remain seated until after the President, the Prime Minister, Speaker of the Knesset, and Chief of Justice of the Supreme Court have left the square.